than to their child once they're born. So when people ask me what I would do to try to make as big an impact on obesity and childhood obesity as we can as a community, as a medical community, I always talk about educating young, either young parents or young parents to be about their own health and getting their own health in order before they have kids of their own.
I think what I'm still struggling to understand is that you say that obesity is a genetic disease, but you still need to eat in order to retain all of those calories. So
Sure.
you must play a certain role in all of that. You must, at some point in your life, eat unhealthy foods in order to start getting all of this sugar into you're putting the sugar into your body, right?
But that's yes, but no, because that's the key. Like if for people to really understand it, they need to like spend a day in my clinic where I'll see an 8-year-old with obesity who eats exactly the same as other 8-year-olds and exercises the same as other 8-year-olds. In fact, I was talking to a patient, family today. And in this family, and this happened to me all the time in my clinic, family has, let's say, 3 kids. All 3 of them live in the same household. 2 of them are normal weight or even underweight, and 1 struggles with weight. And all 3 kids eat the same and have the same sort of activity level. So for adult onset obesity, I think more of it may come down to the behavioral differences that you're talking about, like maybe not eating as healthy. But when it comes to kids, and it's actually another reason why I recommend that young parents get their own health in order, because when those kids are born and those kids are learning from their parents how to eat and what to eat, if those parents are already on board with eating healthy and exercising more and those lifestyle changes, then that kid will learn those habits. And obviously the habits you learn as a young child are the ones that you generally keep the rest of your life.
Oof. Now I understand what you mean. Like there's several factors at play here.
Right. Well, that's why it's complicated. And that's why that goes back to the phenotype genotype discussion, because everybody looks the same, which is what you said. And that's true. But you just don't know how that individual got there. And so, like, when I talk about obesity stigma and obesity bias, I try to tell people, listen, you don't know. Again, that patient could have had a brain tumor, or that patient could have been, has a true, there are some genetic diseases that, like single gene defects that cause obesity that obviously patients have no control over. And those patients get obesity no matter what they eat. And you just don't know if the person you're talking to or is a coworker with or whatever, you don't know how they got to their place in life. So I just try to tell people, a little bit of compassion and a little bit of empathy can go a long way, because you just don't know. You just don't know what that person has been through.
Going back to the pregnant mom for a second, you mentioned that if she eats any type of sugar during the first 1,000 days of the pregnancy,
that was one study in,
that was one study.
And it wasn't,
okay.
Yeah, and it was the sort of the amount of sugar, not just any sugar. And I don't remember what the threshold level was, but the point was just that you should, try to limit your sugar intake as a pregnant mom. And again, that may or may not be appropriate for every pregnant mom, but the point of the article was just showing there was a link between those two, between sugar consumption and diabetes and obesity risk. And the problem with all those studies is it's hard to show causation. It's much easier just to show an association. So you don't actually know if it was the sugar intake or, again, the genetics of the parents who, were more inclined to eat sugar, so you don't actually know what the causative factor was. But the point is it was more just, and there's actually a more recent study that showed that moms with diabetes or who developed gestational diabetes, their baby during pregnancy, their babies had a 20% higher risk of autism spectrum disorder.
Ooh.
And again, I can't explain to you why that happens, although some people do believe that insulin resistance, which is what causes diabetes, is really bad for your brain. But it just was, and it came up during the sort of looking for, in the US, the current health secretary is spending a lot of energy on trying to find causes for autism, but I think most of us who are medical people believe there is no single cause, and that it's like, what's the right word? It's like a fool's errand, I think, is what is one of the terms. But anyway, that's when that study came to my attention, because like, again, if you're there, we know there's genetic factors that predispose to autism, and the same thing goes for obesity. There are genetic factors that predispose to it. Doesn't necessarily cause it, but it increases your risk.
I'm glad that you touched on the subject because I wanted to ask you exactly about it. So their statement is that they found a cure for autism, and me here in Germany is like, what? As far as I know, my understanding beforehand was that autism is actually a byproduct of the human brain evolution. Like there was a reason for it to exist, the same way that psychopaths, they have an evolutionary explanation, so for me, you found, like, when they said we found a cure for autism, like, okay, could you